NBA fans, your boy's back with another installment for top 5 greatest players in each NBA franchise's history. For this one, we're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And for anyone curious, I am including the OKC Thunder and Seattle Supersonics franchise's history in this one. So we're going to have both them in this one. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it. So we're going to start on this one. We're going to have an honorable mention on this one. We're going to start with Serge Ibaka. Multi-time defensive player of the league back in the early 2010s, a shot block leader for those Oklahoma City Thunder teams that were in contention in the early 2010s, played a key role in them having a final appearance in 2012 with that team alongside James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant. He was the go-to guy on defense for that team and one of those menacing centers inside the paint on defense. Now, not quite the greatest OKC Thunder / Seattle Supersonic. Not quite correct top 5, but good enough for an honorable mention. Now, going to move on to the top 5. Starting with number 5, I'm actually going to go with SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. In just a short period of time, this young man has already helped turn around a struggling Oklahoma City Thunder team that was desperately rebuilding when they traded away Russell Westbrook's contract in 2019 to the Houston Rockets. He's been there through the rebuild. The Thunder have been patient with his development, and now he's blossomed out into a superstar. And this season, 2024-25, as of the time I'm recording this, he's a potential frontrunner for league MVP. So there's a good possibility that SGA could be the MVP and that the Thunder could be on the verge back to the finals. And SGA's been the leading role in that guy. He's been the go-to scorer, dominating, having numerous nights where he's averaging over 40 points, putting up a hell of a front runner for MVP case. And last year, he did an excellent job carrying the Thunder to the playoffs. Still has to win a championship ring, and there's still time to see what he does. But as of now, he's number 5 just because his run as a top player has been short. But with more time, you come back a few years, SGA could easily move his way up this list. Now moving on to number 4, we're going back to the Seattle Supersonics days. And we're going back to the 90s. Got Shawn Kemp. Shawn Kemp was one of the great bigs from his era. He was a shot blocking machine inside the paint, and he was nicknamed, what was it again? The Rain Man, Shawn Kemp. Right, folks. Numerous time all defensive player, one of those great shot blockers. He had, was also a good offensive asset in the paint as well. So he was great on defense and even valuable on offense as well. One of the better big men of his time. Not quite in the same category as David Robinson, Hakeem, Shaq, so on and so forth. But one of the better of his era, multi-time All-Star, easily one of the best players in Seattle Supersonics history. And he played a role in those teams being relevant in the 90s alongside Gary Payton. Now moving on to number 3. Now some people might have him at number 2, but I got him at number 3, and that's Russell Westbrook. Now Russell Westbrook was the number 2 man for most of his time there behind Kevin Durant, multi-time All-Star, and even after Durant left that first season there, Russ was the regular season MVP as he helped carry the Thunder to the playoffs life after Kevin Durant. And Russell Westbrook, one of those great scorers, we call him Mr. Triple-Double Man. Sometimes we make fun of him as calling him a stat pad, but he was a great offensive player. And he's, sir, no doubt, say what you will about the guy, he's a future Hall of Famer. And he helped that Seattle Supersonics from that transition from Seattle to Oklahoma City in terms of staying relevant. He helped lead the way as number 2 guy for that championship run and helped keep them in contention through the 2010s. But the reason I have him at number 2 is because most of that time there, he was the number 2 guy. Now, my number 2 guy on this list, coincidentally, spent a long time in Seattle and was actually the lead guy during his tenure, and that's Gary Payton. Now, Gary Payton was a 9-time All-Star, all those appearances during his time with the Supersonics. He helped lead a finals run, won Defensive Player of the Year 1996. Gary Payton was, a valuable option on both sides of the ball, and he immediately took that Seattle Supersonics team that was struggling in the late 80s and early 90s and turned them into a contender. They had a finals run. They fell short against the Bulls, but Gary Payton was that lead guy for him. He was a 9-time All-Star, but the reason I put him over Russ is because he mostly did it as a number one guy, with all due respect to Russ. So for that right there, I got Gary Payton as my number 2. Now, my number 1 guy is Kevin Durant. Now, we know Kevin Durant, it's a lot of good and bad you can say about him. Possibly a top 15 all time. Some people call him a top 10 of all time. That's a debate for another time, though. But definitely top 15 for sure. The best players ever to step foot on an NBA court. Scoring champion his rookie year. Multi-time All-Star. Double-digit All-Star. Led a finals run with the OKC Thunder / Seattle Supersonics in 2012. And he immediately dominated from the moment he got drafted. His rookie season, winning Rookie of the Year. Giving that team hope for the future. Leading the way during the transition from Seattle to Oklahoma City. Leading the last finals appearance to date. Leading the Thunder in the conference finals. Getting them in contention numerous times. Now, granted, he ultimately did leave and go to Golden State. But during his time with the Thunder, there's no doubt he was an impact player. And in my eyes, easily the greatest Oklahoma City Thunder / Seattle Supersonic player of all time. Now, you guys can comment. Let me know who your top 5 OKC Thunder Seattle Supersonics are. And also make sure to drop a like, subscribe for more content. Until next time, it's your boy signing off. Coming up next, we got the Orlando Magic, so stay tuned.